Choreography and dancing in the industry is a service job. It's not about you at all. It's about what you have and how you can bring that onto the artist. Detachment is important. I completely detach to every single thing I put on the table. It's like, oh, I'm going to give you what I think. Cool, you don't like that? What about this? Cool, you don't like that? What about this? It's really like finding out what works for them and less about, this is my art on you. This is my art for you.
What is up, everyone, and welcome once again to the Studio North podcast. We are so excited today to have a very special guest with us, but as per his request, I will not be executing my usual introduction, and we're just going to dive right into what we're chatting about today, which is the full gamut, and we're just going to dive right in as per his request. Shaun Evaristo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
My first question for you, what is your choreographic process?
Oh, my choreographic process, I think, comes down to playlist. So I focus on like I have a playlist that I just put songs into, and then I wait until sort of my life experiences that I have to sort of catch up or meet the moment of songs in that playlist. So if there's something that matches, I may choose that and then try that sort of feeling that I feel that's connected to that song, and then see if something kind of comes out. And in that process, I have a couple things. Like, I like to go based off of instinct. I'll just use the first movements that come out and completely like trust my instinct. If I come into like a block, then it's this weird technique that I use. I just turn a different direction. If that doesn't work out, I turn another direction. If that doesn't work out, I step outside or I move my environment. And my choreographic process is really about like leaning into my instinct of flow.
So what happens when you hit that choreo block? You're saying you switch direction. I know a lot of people listening are dancers and they're trying to start choreographing and they're trying to get into making their own movement.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's starting that journey and doesn't feel confident yet in creating their own choreography? They've been training for some time now.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who just keeps getting choreo blocked, doesn't have confidence in their own movement, but really loves this and really wants to do this?
Well, feedback is important. Like, that's what having like really great friendships within dance, like having these connections and like putting yourself out there to share, to say, oh, okay, here's a piece of work that I'm putting together. What do you think? Also mentors, asking mentors, what do you think? Also going back, carving out and making iterations of what you have. And then choosing, because at the end of the day, an artist is choice. So when you go to see what you have, like, yeah, what do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And why don't you like that? Or why do you like that? Asking and framing some of these questions so that way you can continue to carve into like what is you and what makes you feel like kind of closest and authentic to that version of you. And I guess inside of that, especially for beginners or people that are trying to carve into themselves within the choreographic setting, I think, recording yourself and seeing the process of it can really help a lot. I think it's hard for me to sometimes I go back into old footage of mine, but when I look back at that footage, I can really see what I was trying to say, and that helps me a lot to like, even in the now, like, okay, where do I want to stray away from my last piece, because that's where I've been. Where do I want to go? Does that kind of help?
Dude, 100%. We've also talked before about there was a period of time where you didn't film any of your work. You didn't want it recorded.
Right.
And how do you feel about that now, looking back?
I actually somewhat regret not doing that. I understand from an artistic point of view why I didn't want that, because I was just at that space. So I honor that was a part of my creative process. But, in hindsight, as I got older, I was like, what happened there? what was I saying? And I don't have an archive to look back on to reference point some of those things. As an artist, it's like, as a musician, you record and you put that on so that way you can have that body of work. I kind of have a missing body of work.
I would say, because there are those thoughts and discussions when it does come to cameras in the classroom.
Yeah.
And we've had those conversations before.
Right.
And understanding both sides of that as well, knowing it can change the classroom environment.
100%.
But then to your point also, but you want to document, not only do you want to document for you as the choreographer and as the leader in the room, you also want to provide an opportunity for the dancers in the room for them to see their growth.
Yeah, I think that's time and place, right? Like you as the creator have the agency to say when that should happen for you. And then you as a teacher and facilitator should know how to facilitate the room in ways that make it comfortable for your audience. You can frame it a particular way, or you can actually share like why you want to document this piece today in this way, right? Like, yeah, I think we can just frame or position things to work best for the art that you're kind of putting forward.
What do you think the number one skill a teacher that is in a position of teaching what would you say the number one skill that every teacher should work on?
Oh, that's hard.
I know. I'm throwing them all at you.
What skill?
Because we talk about the difference between being a choreographer, a teacher, and a dancer. And so as a teacher, I'm just reframing my question. As a teacher, there's so many skills, but let's go through each one. Let's go through dancer, teacher, and choreographer. Just, it doesn't have to be no pressure.
No, it's okay. I like it.
Okay. So give me the skill. What is the skill that a teacher in a teaching setting, what is one of the most important skills that you need to hone as a teacher?
I think it's communication and translation, right? Like if dance is a language, right? Then we need to translate and communicate that body of work or our concept and idea or a way that you use improv or freestyle in that setting to then have that student apply that concept, idea, or choreographic setting, right? There needs to be comprehension on their end. And you, as a teacher, have to facilitate the communication of that to the comprehension.
So communication, what about for a choreographer in a choreographic setting? A choreography setting, what is one of the most important skills for a choreographer?
I think that depends on the goal, right? So if it's working for an artist, it's different from doing something for like a class setting versus I'm making a piece of choreography for myself. What is the goal? So I can answer that question based on the goal at hand.
What would be one of the most important skills for someone who's looking to become a choreographer for a larger artist or just any artist, to be honest? What would be an important skill that you need as somebody? I'm not going to get too far.
My advice in that setting would be it's not about you, right? It's knowing what you have in your tool bag and then saying, okay, choreography and dancing is in the industry is a service job. So it's not about you at all. It's about what you have and how you can bring that on to the artist. Then I see what's in front of me, and then I go, okay, how can I take what I have in my tool set that you as an artist like about me, and then use those things to kind of work with, around, and for you. It becomes less about you. Essentially, they see you as a thing that they want to kind of do, but your job is taking that little bit of magic and then saying, how can I best use that little bit of magic, but then work with what you got, right? Because you do this daily. They do not. Unless you're working with an artist of that high caliber and high skill level, that's a different scenario, and where then we get to play a little bit more. But yeah, maybe your artist doesn't have the tool set that you need, or can do the movement. So you need to bring in reinforcements and dancers to it kind of elevate them to then be and feel as that artist that they are. So I think it just depends on the situation in that case.
I'm hearing also like a little bit of humility in the sense of letting go, maybe a little bit of the control that we sometimes hold as it's my own choreography. I felt this when K-pop gigs happen, and then you send the revision and they say, I want you to change it all. Almost like part of that ego comes in and says, you know, what do you mean? This is my art. You don't change my art.
Right.
But having that mind frame of, like you said, it's a service. And what do you hold on to and what do you let go of?
I think as a job, if this is my job, then detachment is important. I completely detach to every single thing I put on the table. It's like, oh, I'm going to give you what I think. Cool, you don't like that? What about this? Cool, you don't like that? What about this? Like, it's really like finding out what works for them and less about like, this is my art on you. This is my art for you.
Dude, yes. Okay, last one, dancer. So someone who's looking to be a dancer, whether that's in the industry or, you know, just full-time dancing in some capacity. What is one skill? What is one major skill that you think dancers should be working on if that's their goal?
So it's two things. One of them is like being specific, like who do you want to work for? Who do you want to work for? Is it multiple people? Is it one like area or feel or style, right? Like then in that setting, then you can then kind of pick your path. Obviously, like I think range and versatility is important, especially if you want to work in multiple settings, right? Then you're going to want to have the flexibility of being able to work in different rooms, because not one job is only going to feed you, unless it does, that is also a possibility. So in that case, if you want this one area and that's going to be your thing, then that's a completely different path from someone that wants to work in multiple rooms. Like, for example, say you want to work in Vegas, but you also want to work in Los Angeles, you want to work in theater, these are completely different settings. Having the flexibility will give you the ability to then have different type of job opportunities. But then there could be on the flip side where like you're not really looking for that much range, you really want to just focus on commercial stage performances. Then those are different rooms you should be in. Those are different ways you need to train. Those are a little bit more stylistic to, okay, who are the choreographers that work in that round and or are assisting those choreographers or directors. That's a kind of different path. So those are the two ways that I would kind of say that would help.
And to build on to that, what if you're in an area, let's say you're a dancer and you're in an area where there aren't a lot of opportunities. You might have to move to another city. You might have to move to somewhere where those opportunities are, you know, more prevalent.
Right.
It's that whole, do I stay and try to make something here, or do I go and shoot my shot in that part? Any thoughts on that?
That depends on where you are in life, right? Like, are you in a place where you find value where you are? And say you do, but you're at a place where you are looking to explore. Go explore that, right? And see how that feels for you. But I don't think there's a right or wrong here, right? I think it's where you are in life, the experiences you want to have in your lifetime, right? If those are experiences you want to have in your lifetime, go get it. And then if those are experiences that you don't have accessibility to it yet, right? I think those are ways that you can figure out, how can I make those experiences for myself in the setting that I have? And I think we are in an era and time that has a little bit more resources than the past. So making those possibilities right at the palm of your hand in a ways that you can reach out, or I think there's, again, like just comes down to there are more opportunities than in the past. So take advantage of them.
With access to social media and internet compared to back in the day when might not have had those tools, what would you rather? What would you have? What would you rather? Would you rather have, with your given career, have grown up in the age where we didn't have access to all those resources, or seeing kids these days having all the access?
Tough. That's like an age-old thing,
Yeah.
right? I think for me, I have to honor my path
Yeah.
and just be thankful for what I have. I can, wish all these things, but I have them now, right? So if I wish to explore them in this time frame of where I'm at, then I can do that. It might look different, but yeah, I'm okay with that. I think I have to honor where I was, how it happened, what I did, and I've experienced that, so I'm gonna stick in that space. I think with the next gen and where we're at, like I'm almost learning from y'all, to be honest. I'm asking you questions on, oh, what should we do now, and what do you think, and where do you think it goes? Those are things that I get excited about.
You're one of, if not the most authentic person that I know. I feel like authenticity is one of your many superpowers. For someone, speaking to someone who might be struggling with authenticity, whether that be within their dancing, within any kind of area of their life, is there some wisdom you can impart onto someone on how to be more? It's such a huge question, but I find it very awesome of how authentic you are. And so how can we be more authentic?
Okay. I want to approach this in era of time. I think now we're in a space where everything is recorded, and people bring out their phones, so making mistakes is really hard to do sometimes. I feel that it could be, or maybe it's not. I could be completely wrong, but I feel that growing up, being a kid, I could make mistakes. Growing into my teens, I can try things, and it's even I could make a piece of choreo and it's not shown until I can get better at it, and then I have something to offer. So I think making mistakes allowed me the ability to see the differences on what I liked, what I didn't like, and not being afraid to keep going even with the failures or the things that were good or not good. That allowed me the vision to carve into authenticity, and I think I still stay true to that. Things aren't being recorded now, but I have it in me to just, fuck it, let's try, and I think that will always be in me. I'm okay with making mistakes because I know from there I can learn and figure out how to tune in better the next time around. Or the hardest part is getting over myself, because sometimes you disappoint yourself, and then you have to choose to keep going, and choosing to keep going, that's hard.
Couple more, and then let me introduce you. Okay, dancers who used to dance, they're really, really good. They've taken some time off, and they're thinking about coming back, but they have this hesitation. They have this fear. I used to be really good. I don't know where I'm at now. I'm afraid to come back into the space. Or they just loved it before and they took a big break, and now, I think it's just that fear, that fear, and being scared. What advice would you give to someone who used to be a dancer, took a little bit of a break, is feeling that pull or that urge to come back, but is scared to
move his life? That's it, and I don't just mean in the setting of dance. I think that could be in any context. If there's something that pulls you, if you are passionate, or there's something pulling that thing you want to pursue, go, move his life. That's my whole thing, right? Movement is a lifestyle. So I think if it's calling you, walk towards it, move towards it, and you will find answers. You will find more questions. But in that is a journey in itself that I think is worth pursuing.
Describe your style.
Oh, God.
Kind of to build off that last response. What do you...
Move life. style.
What is it? What do
Move
we?
life is my style, man. No, I think I'm a combination of things that I've been influenced by. Hip hop, of course, influence bass. Really meeting friends and seeing how they incorporate things from different worlds that will always be a part of me too. And I try not to, like, I leave it to everybody else to tell me what they think of me. I will just make the art that I see and feel. I will always be a student and educating to become better. But as an artist, I must meet where I'm at and create the things that are in my spirit and that want to be put out. Yeah, I'll leave it to y'all to decide.
Where are you at with social media these days? What do you feel? How do you feel about the way?
Oh my gosh,
I know, bro.
It's changing. Yeah.
How do you? What are your thoughts on social media?
I think social media is a hard landscape to just like do. I find myself just like everybody else, like wanting to like engage, and then like, all right, I'll go and like not be on it for a little bit, and then I think it's hard, especially within movement lifestyle. It's now that it's back, there's like a lot of things happening, trying to keep up with things, and I also have a difficulty balancing out like how I move in social media, but really if I go to the root of how I feel, I want to just focus on real life stuff first, and then let like social media like be just a part of it versus having it consume me. That's really where I want it to be at this moment.
Okay, so a piece of advice. What would be one piece of wisdom or advice that if you could talk to the next generation, this current generation, sometimes we say next generation, but it's really just talking to this current generation of dancers in our community, what would be one lesson, what would be one piece of advice that maybe you wish you learned earlier on that you wish to share with this generation? Yeah,
I think I don't know if this feels like a very boring answer, but we as artists and creators are the business, in terms of us that are pursuing this passion. I do think if you're in the space of pursuing it as a career, then some of the advice I can give you is more along the lines of take a season to learn about finance and business. I feel like I wish I learned sooner, or knew that like, oh, I am going to pursue dance as a career. I am the business, you know what I mean? And then in the industry, you kind of learn along the way. But those are some things that I wish I did, was just take more seasons to like educate myself. I think now we're in a day and age where you can do that. And I feel happy for the next generation that they have access to that. I'm gaining more access into that, which then helps me, like on all the things, from business to finance to investing to like all of those things that can help a artist's career as it move forward. So those are things I think as an artist, it is your responsibility to like also take time to learn about, because I have been just, I'm just an artist. I've pigeonholed myself into that. I don't do that, and I just focus on the art, which I think there's validity to that as well, but also balancing out your seasons with educating in spaces that you aren't familiar with. So that's in terms of those pursuing it as a career. And then for those that aren't, I think really keeping the joy in the dance. I think that's across the board, right? Like, this thing that we love a lot can like goes in waves. So what remains is the joy of the dance, and the more we can keep that close to us, tucked into our pocket or locked, that's sacred. So I am also still in practice of that, how to continue to keep the joy.
Man, Can I introduce you now? I feel like that was a good chunk.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's so much value there, bro. There was so much value. Dude, you are, I'm just so honored and happy that you're here with us and sharing. Dude, for those that don't know, like, just from listening to all of what you just shared, that felt like a rapid fire session where I was just throwing, you were like, give me every tough, hard, or like valuable question. And dude, there's so much in there that we could unpack, and we can continue. We've got time to unpack even more, but you are someone that has kicked down, not just open, but you've kicked down doors and you've paved the way, and for so many of us that do this thing we call dance in the dance community, traveling, teaching, competing, taking class in a studio, you started this. Yeah. And
it was already here. I just stepped into this space that existed before and wanted to build more for it.
I'm going to keep pumping you up, so I'm going to just please pause. You are the reason why, so many of us do what we do with, the creation of movement lifestyle. I think back to my first experience of movement lifestyle when I came down fresh out of high school, slept on a couch, and was at the very first ML, and the impact that had on my life. I think to you traveling to these international countries and doing this crazy job of teaching internationally and educating and creating choreography that people fall in love with and posting videos. I think of you with, Gen 2 in the very beginning, competing on stage. Like, you've paved the way for so many that I feel like I would be remiss if I wasn't to, I think we need to talk a bit about the history, about your history, about ML, about how this all started. And I want this to be a history lesson in the most engaging way possible, and not feel like high school history. But I feel like there's so much we can learn, and there's so much that needs to be acknowledged, I think, like the work that you've done and that your team has done. And just the humility that you even hold. And I'm here to pump your tires the entire time. So, you're just going to have to kind of deal with that. But I'm very curious if you're open to share, like, take us back to the beginning. Take us back to, how you got your start, yeah. how you got into this. How did you get into this? How did this all begin?
I'll try to keep answers poignant, especially when it comes to going back. It's best for me to just keep quick because I know I can float in stories. So I would say easiest way, music videos, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, all of that when I was 5 years old in the living room, in the garage, just copying all of that. Anything I saw on MTV, and I'm referencing MTV, so that definitely tells me how old I am. So yeah.
And then Gen 2.
Yeah. So 10 years old, I was just wanting to spend more time with my cousins. That's my dance crew. Also my cousins. We were just wanting to be together. We used dance. I asked if we could use dance as our thing to hang out together. So I would just make up routines or copy routines and just teach them. And we would eat, play, hang out, laugh, not rehearse. I was young, and it was just a way for us to play, and that actually lasted quite a long time, from 10 years old, all the way until, high school, past high school.
And then were you in the competition circuit? Was there a competition circuit? Was there competitions?
I think competitions, were my first thing to watch was Bust a Groove 2001 or 2, and I stepped onto the scene and saw this whole amazing event that existed. There's also friendship games and other stuff inside of Southern California, and I was just like, what is this? This is amazing. And not only that, but then things in the Bay Area, I had a lot of like crews to look up to, from Chain Reaction, Mind Tricks, Mind Over Matter. These are all Bay Area crews that I grew up watching too. There was these Filipino festivals that they would perform at. So I would just like watch and be like, this is awesome, and just want to perform on the same stage. And then eventually like wanting to gain respect within the scene. I would go to those festivals and I'd go somewhere else and see them perform on different stages. Then that's what it is. You're like, how do I get there? Or how can I show that I like can deserve to be on the same stage as those people that I was looking up to? So it was just a want to get better versus just staying in like, just playing and having fun. How can we improve and like, get some respect on for our name and our crew?
And so that's in the Bay. You're in the Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So then what made you decide to leave the Bay and move to LA?
Yeah, so actually before I did that, I also co-founded the company in Daly City with Pat Cruz. And that really came about because from crew, which was more fun and play, the ability to kind of dive into like a team-based setting, something that's a little bit more on the training aspect, a little bit more on the like concepts, and we wanted to be more serious. I don't even, we were just a little bit more dialed in, and it was the ability to use that platform to then like put out different ideas. And me and Pat did that for, I stayed directing the team until 2008. But I had moved to Los Angeles in 2006. So I'm like jumping back and forth. There's like a lot of history. So, I moved to Los Angeles in 2006 because I really felt a calling. I wanted to pursue this thing. I was like, how do I make this thing my life? Like, how other people are doing it. I see other people in these music videos. I copied them when I was young, so how can I do that? Mm-hmm. And of course, you go to New York or you go to Atlanta, you find different spaces where they exist. But a lot of where I was being influenced or enjoyed was in Los Angeles. So, not too far. It's like easiest, closest thing that I can get to. Mm-hmm. So there it is. I was like, all right. And long story short, Ben Chung, who was a part of the Jabberwockies, he was my first roommate in Los Angeles, and we were actually competing against each other on different teams before, but we were just like, hey, you're cool. I think you're awesome. I want to move to LA. Do you want to like live together so we could try to do this thing? And he was super down for it. So, yeah.
Awesome. I love that. Do you mind sharing the story of how you got your first class?
Yeah.
That's a good.
My first class.
Yeah, bro.
Where do I pull back?
So you moved from the Bay, you moved to LA.
Yes.
And you to pursue dance.
Yes.
To make this your life.
So I basically would go to the front desk at Millennium and let them know, hey, I'm Shaun. I moved here and I would love to teach. And a good friend, Fee, who is a part of the Jabberwockies, he was open to collaborate with me, and he like was the segue for me to actually get a class and teach. I would sub and I would just say, hey, if you like my class, tell the front desk, so that way I can not just sub, but maybe I can really cultivate something there, because I really felt like I had something to offer, or I wanted to share and have something to offer. And I guess from that setting, that kind of continued to happen, but really it came down to I also took the money that I earned and I would make these t-shirts
Yes.
that like kind of promoted my class times, and they didn't even have like my name or anything, but the goal was just to let people know that I had a class at this time
Yeah.
at this place.
Dude, so
And-
smart, so sick, bro.
But I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just leveraging my like the money that I would earn because I didn't even know what I was doing. Just hey, what if I make these shirts? I give them out to people, and then people would ask, what is that? What is Monday, Wednesday at 2 p.m.? It's like, oh, that's this guy, Shaun. He teaches class at this time, this day. People would come, and then I started to sort of build my following, and then eventually I got my own class and had my name on the wall, and it was big, because you're trying to do the thing, and this was a part of the stepping stone to do that thing, and I felt lucky. I had a friend to kind of segue me and what I've been doing into the studio setting, and then two, of course, other people believing me, saying that like, hey, like bring back Shaun, like have him teach again, because then obviously that allowed me to continue to teach more. Yeah.
So what I hear in that story is I know you said it's something so simple. You just, printed something on a t-shirt. First off, I'm like, that's OG guerrilla marketing. That's like, you're an iconic business marketer from like 20 years ago and you don't even know it, but that's definitely like sick guerrilla marketing. But then also it's the reinvesting into yourself and into your art and into your passion, which is you took everything that you made and then you put it into these shirts to advertise your class.
I didn't even know what reinvesting was like that. Like, yeah.
And it's so cool that you just, I love that. I love that story. Okay, we're gonna put a pin in here. Let's jump forward. Teachers nowadays, that are looking to get a class, looking to teach. Maybe it's at ML, maybe it's Studio North. Given your experience and how hard you had to work to get there, what advice would you maybe give this generation or people looking to get into a teaching space? Yeah. Given, everything that you went through and now as a studio owner that are bringing teachers on, what would you say to them?
I think this is a different time, right? Especially things are, it's just a different time, and I honor that as well. But what remains is what we're doing here, and I think it's not just important what we do, but how we do it. And I would say it's a multitude of things that kind of cross together. I think it's not one thing, it's all the things. And I think you have to decide what is the things that you're good at, whether it's marketing or whether it's like, oh, my power is in impact, or my power is in communication. So finding out what you're really great at and then using that to your advantage to then like let that be sort of signature to you. And then in terms of value and getting yourself to teach, I think, it's really hard because I don't want to say just one thing. I think it's a multitude, especially in this day and age. I could say you just got to be great at dance, but no, it's not just that. You got to just be able to communicate your message, but it's not just that. I think we're at a place where you have to have the balance of all these things, including being able to share that you are like putting your work out there and you want people to come, right? I think it's the balance of those things. And of course, at the end of the day, it comes down to the impact that you make and the value that you're bringing to the student. And I think at its core, that should remain.
Nowadays, it's being a jack of all trades, per se. You have to, like you mentioned, having these different skill sets. Whereas maybe back in the day, it might have been you're just really freaking good at dancing or you're really good at performing, and people want to learn that. They just want to learn to be like you or move like you. Whereas maybe nowadays, you kind of have to. That doesn't work in this economy. there's a number of skills, and I think having the humility too to know, okay, what am I strong at? What do I bring to the table? But then also, what could I work more on? Is there areas of my teaching? Is there areas of my movement? Is there areas of how I hold a class, how I market my class?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't love telling people, hey, come take my class, because back in the day, didn't need to. People showed up because it was a different time.
Yeah.
And so nowadays it's like, dang, yeah, learning how to remarket yourself to new dancers.
Right.
So I think it is, I agree.
It's a multitude of things.
Yeah.
And I think, just reiterating, the more you know about how you want to deliver what you offer, I think the more you may be able to like sort of stand out. And then I think, you could do it once, right? But then to be able to continue that sort of value giving, right? Of course it's education, but in the education is value and what people gain for their own life, so that way they can use it. Because we're not here to just, we're using, whether it be concepts or choreo or, we're using the dance as a tool for things that people can learn about their life and how they can apply it forward. At least that's where I come from, and that's what I wish to do. That is not the only way. There are other ways that people do this. It could just be movement-based, could be skill-based. Everybody's got their own way, and I accept that. But for me, I really focus on everybody comes from a different place, and my goal is to provide value to all these different places that people are coming from.
And what value you bring. Everyone that's taken a step in your class, dude, that's, they're...
It means a lot. I really, really means a lot. I worked very hard to curate how I wanted to facilitate a classroom, and then to make sure that, the choreo is the choreo, or the ideas are the ideas, but really how to hone in on like, okay, how can I leave you with something that makes you feel beyond the classroom itself, that you can feel when you get home or when you teach next or when you create next. How can you bring these things moving forward so that way years beyond you're like, oh, yeah, that thing that Shaun said still sticks with me till now, huh? Yeah.
Totally.
And I like that is like, I hope for those moments, because I work for those moments to just impart value into people's lives, because when I'm gone, hopefully those things can live on.
And I'll say this, and I can only speak for myself, but I see what we're doing as dance is the vessel. And this is what we've been, gifted with, I believe. I believe they're, called to this. But to your point, I do believe that what we're doing is bigger than just dance. I do believe that what the impact, the community, and the connection that's happening at the studio is life-changing, and it's lifelong. It's not just about the dance, the impact that's felt.
I mean, that's the hope, right? We don't know. Of course, we do know from those that tell us, but also it's not guaranteed, and some people may just need it to be transactional.
For sure.
And that's okay too. Like, I accept that. Like, some people just need it as a transient thing, but other people may need a lot more depth or a little bit more care. And I'm happy to be a home in any way that like the people need.
And I think that's what we're both passionate about. That's like what we're fired up, and that's why we do what we do, is because of that. Yes, we really love dance, and we love everything that it's done for us, and just being able to be a part of this. But honestly, what I get jacked up and what I get fired up about is the impact it has on people's lives. Like, I met my wife on my dance team.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? Like, or just like the lifelong relationships that we have, it was through dance. And that is why we do what we do, is just so beautiful. It's life-changing. It's so intertwined with, my life and how I grew up. And it's like, man, I just want that for everybody. I want people to feel like they have that place, that they can feel safe, they feel like home, they feel they have a community, they can just head after school, head after class, head after a long day, and they know they have a community of people. They don't have to be good at dancing either. You don't have to be the best dancer. That's not what it's about. It's not about being the place with the best dancers. It's about creating a community and a community.
Yeah,
you
drive it
know?
home, man. That's right.
Like,
And yeah, I think it's important. It's especially in the context of Los Angeles. LA is a hard place. It's not easy. A lot of people really work their way to get to an opportunity, and the truth is, a majority of people fall from that opportunity. We just wish to be a place that is a softer landing, and if we can provide a softer landing for those moments, then it gives the ability for us as a dance community, or those of us pursuing this as our job, to keep fighting. And to me, because I've also been through that, I want that for us to just be a softer place to land, so that way we can find it in ourselves to keep moving.
so speaking of moving, speaking of movement, speaking of ML, you are the creator of ML,
Yes.
of Movement Lifestyle. I mean, I can go off about the impact that ML has had on my life, and a huge reason why Studio North is what it is. But why don't you go back and talk about how did ML start, and why did ML start?
ML started as an idea and a concept. It's exactly what I said before. I really saw these two words, movement and lifestyle, and then understanding that they were connected. They're a reflection of each other. And I think from that idea, the want to help people. I was in this space. I've worked in the industry for a piece of time, and I wanted to do more than just work in the industry. I wanted to help more of people from my community to also pursue passion of movement. So it was like, how can I do that? In what ways can I do that? We started with stickers and buttons. I moved downstairs, opened up an office. I don't even know what it was for. I just said, hey, I guess we're a business, so we probably need a place for our shirts and buttons and stickers. I'll live upstairs. We'll put everything downstairs. There's a place downstairs that I'll put a mirror, and people, if we're on the street level, people can come and dancers can have a place to hang out. That's how it started, really, just energy cultivating, dancers, us as dancers believing in us. And once I did that, I felt like the community started to swirl, come around, and that really lent itself to hanging out, to talking about dance, to then commune more, right? Granted, from there, it was really like, okay, there's something else here, right? We've maybe there's more, and a space next door opened up. It was bigger than the office that we were in. I was like, okay, well, we could use a bigger space to create. So I went for it. It was right next door, next to the office. Let's make it happen. Oh shoot, we need to pay rent. Was this a good idea? What are we gonna do? Well, maybe can any of our friends that have been hanging around, can any of you teach some classes, just a few throughout the week? Maybe that will help us sustain, and we can keep the space so that way we can work on other stuff. The goal was for it to be a creative space so we could use it for our ideas. But in the end, more and more friends started teaching. We had 3 classes a week, and then that went to more and more. We're like, oh, I guess we could have more. More friends want to teach, and then we started bringing in guests, and it really over a year. We were only a year in that space from the office to the studio, the first studio. We were in there for just a year, and next thing I know, down the street, there was a bigger space. My dad had came in. He was like, "Hey, Anak, I did you see the space over here?" And I was like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, it's open. There's it's available for lease." I was like, whatever, Dad. You know, what are you talking about? You're just dreaming.
Yeah.
And well, I decided to take a look, and I went on a little tour of the space, and we worked it out. Like long story short, it worked out. We were ending that lease here, and we decided to open up. 11105 is what we called it, and yeah, that was amazing. We thrived in that place. It was 2 studios. The community showed out, and it was a place that was necessary. And at that time, I think it became a hub for not just people in Los Angeles, but for the world to be a part of. And I think I have very special memories in that time frame. And yeah, nothing will ever replace that for me. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but that's kind of where we ended up, was my apartment to the small office that I live in, and then to the first studio that I also lived in, because I was like, I'll just build a small thing here, I'll stay there. And then from there, dreaming and saying, well, what would happen if we moved to a bigger space? Yeah. Next thing I know, there we were.
Dude, I still remember, I mentioned before, coming down and sleeping on a couch and going to the first ML with the pole in the room.
Yeah.
I remember the first classes were Jafar Smith, and Brian Scott Nicholson. I remember learning from them. This is years ago. It would have been 2011, I think.
Yeah.
It was probably 2011 if I can remember correctly. But dude, it's like ML is, I will say this, I can only speak for myself, but I believe it's the most iconic and most recognized community dance studio in the world. And it is the reason why so many other community studios around the world have opened, because they witnessed what happened there in those early days of, hey, like, we don't have this. This is so special. Let's everyone fly internationally to come to this and see what's this magic about. And then they go back home and they take that magic with them. So that's what I did. I came done at ML. This is pre-brotherhood, pre everything. I just graduated high school. I was going to university, and I just loved to dance. But I go there and I'm like, holy smokes, I love this thing. But to my point before, it wasn't just the dancing. The dancing was awesome. It was so sick. But it was the community. It was the lifestyle. It was everyone meeting up before and taking class and then hanging out after and going to eat. Right.
And it's really that is like, that's what it is to live a movement lifestyle, right? I'm here. I'm in Vancouver at Studio North. We're connecting over dance and hanging out. We are living a movement lifestyle. It is not subjective to the studio itself. It is a concept, an idea that this is what we do. This is who we are, right? And yeah, this is living a movement lifestyle right here.
I love that.